Hey, it's Wade Adams here, and welcome to Topic Sauce. And with me is Fatty. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm fucking excited to be here. Excited to finally start this.
Yeah, man, it's been a while since we started talking about this.
I
And
think it's been about a month.
Yeah, and we're finally getting it going. So, I think you brought a couple beers, did you?
I did, yeah. I tried to grab something local, but that's local to the Maritimes.
Local to the Maritimes. Okay, right on. Do you want to crack into them?
Yeah. It's Boxing Rock Hunky Dory Pale Ale. So let's pop these bad boys and see what they're like.
It's not bad. It's
It's pretty summery.
Yeah.
Pretty summery.
It's not too bad at all. So you said these are from the Maritimes.
Yeah.
Very good. Speaking of the Maritimes, you were mentioning something about a fair before we started recording, I think, or something.
I was bitching about how PEI canceled all their festivals.
Yeah.
There's nothing going on around us this summer. Like everything, like there's no concerts or nothing. I think the exhibition's the only thing.
Yeah, and it's a huge money grab. Personally,
You been?
Yeah, I was there last week. Me and my wife and my little fella, we went, and we usually take him. Last year was his first year going, and we took him this year again. But it's so expensive. You can only afford to go to those things once because it's so crazy. But he enjoyed it. We went on some rides and stuff, and we bought the bracelets. We could go on all the rides that we wanted to. But throughout the time of us being there, as kids are, they get, they start feeling spoiled and entitled. Even though we took him on every other ride he wanted to go on, and, we bought him lunch, burgers, and we let him play all the games he wanted to, or at least a couple of them. He just kept getting more and more anxious to get on rides, and he didn't want to wait in line, and I had to sit him down and just say, like, listen, buddy, it's the world doesn't just revolve around you. You as my son, you revolve around me and mom, but that's it. So you have to stop acting so entitled, and you have to stop feeling like everything goes your way. But besides that, it's kind of funny how young kids can, as you grow older, how you can kind of change your perspective and your thoughts on life. Do you know what I mean?
Why don't you tell me what you mean, man? Try to break it down a little better.
Well, basically, I'll give you an example. So when I was, not just me, I know certain people, or I would say maybe most, as children, they don't have too many cares. They could be friends with anybody, regardless of their looks, regardless of how they act.
Okay, I see.
But as you grow up and you grow older, say for a teenager, for example, without trying to sound too obnoxious and too rude, I was extremely against gay people growing up. I don't know why. I had no reason. I was just completely against them. Maybe I thought that every gay guy just wanted to fuck me, just a complete moron. But as I grew older, now I fully support gay marriage. I fully support, it's your decision to do what you want with your life, and it doesn't affect me in the slightest. So that's basically what I meant, is the older you get, the different your perspective and the different ways that you think about things can change, and quite dramatically, like a complete 360 in just a couple of years. Have you ever been through something like that you can recall?
Oh man, absolutely. I mean, I was born in a very religious family. I had a pretty strict religious upbringing, so a lot of my ideology as a youth was pretty limited.
What was your religion, if you don't mind me asking?
Pentecost.
Pentecost? Okay, very good, very good.
Yeah, pretty invested into the whole thing, but as I got older and started to get a little more independent with my thinking, a lot of it just didn't start making sense, or stop making sense, I guess.
Yeah.
But so I mean, really, every idea I had for like my whole life, my whole like sense of self identity, till about the time I was 21 when I got out of it, I had to kind of like reshape and like turn myself into a different person, because I really disagree with like everything I thought I agreed with.
So was that something that just with you growing up in that environment, you just ended up believing it because you were around it so much, or did you truly believe it? Do you think?
I mean, I definitely truly believed it for a time, but would I have believed that stuff if I had a different upbringing? Probably not. I mean, the environment that you grow up in really, really, really plays a part in who you become. Absolutely. For sure. I mean, not to say that it's the only thing that plays a part, but it's definitely important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I was Protestant. I was never actually baptized. My family. And it's funny because I think I've only been to church 3 times, and all 3 were none of them were with my family, and they were actually with a friend of mine. I'd go over to his place on the weekend, and on Sundays we would go to church. And his family's pretty heavy Catholic. And anyway, I was talking to my stepmom. She's been in my life for years now, 13 plus years. And when I was a child, I knew nothing about religion. I knew God was in heaven, the devil was in hell, the basics. But other than that, I never really knew too much about it. And I asked my father one day what our religion was, because I had no idea. And he had told me that I was Protestant. And I said, okay, so I was never baptized. What does that mean? And my stepmother, being a very, very strict religious woman, looked at me dead in the eye at 7 years old in my Spider-Man pajamas eating cereal, and she said, "You're gonna burn. You're gonna burn." And I was devastated. My father, he's like, "Just don't. Why? What are you saying? He's 7. Stop it. He still uses a nightlight, for God's sakes." And I just couldn't believe it. But yeah, no. As I grew older, and I don't know what I believe. I believe in some form of higher power, maybe something. Whether or not it's amongst the popular belief of everyone else, I'm not sure. But it's funny how your beliefs and your thoughts and everything kind of change as time goes on. And
experience counts for a lot, right?
Absolutely.
You meet a few gay people who are pretty fucking cool, and cooler than the people who are homophobes. It's pretty easy to change your mind about things, right?
No, absolutely. My uncle, I've only met him once or twice, but he was, and this was actually the turning point whenever I kind of changed my views on gays, because I met my uncle, and he's very, very gay, and but he was super cool, and I had no idea. Like, he was married, he had a husband, or they were engaged or something. I think this was before the law passed, because this was ages ago, and I had no idea. I was out by Cavendish at my grandparents' house, and we were building a deck, and I was hanging out with my uncle the whole time, and he was sitting there smoking joints, drinking beers, and we were hanging out building decks or building a deck, sorry. And by the end of the day, my father ended up telling me that he's like, yeah, like, your uncle's gay. I don't know how it came into the topic. He didn't just say, oh, he's gay. With as the conversation moved on with him, he ended up swinging that into the conversation, and it was funny, because I don't like. I'd like to assume, or I'd like to think, that even now, without meeting him, I would still be pro-gay. But I vividly remember that was the turning point in my thoughts because I was like, no way, man! Like, he's such a cool dude, you know what I mean? But I never met.
That's impossible. Yeah. How can he be so cool?
Well, I've never met any homosexuals or any gay people.
That's what I mean, right? Like, it's once you start actually living your life and thinking for yourself, everything becomes a lot clearer.
Absolutely. Well, and they're all like, whether whatever their sexual preferences, it doesn't matter. They're all.
How's that affecting you?
Exactly, it doesn't. And it's like the transgender now is that, and it was really weird, because I had I was completely against transgenders, but I supported gay marriage, which makes no sense.
That's some double think right there.
Yeah, no, it was really, really weird, and it wasn't up until a couple months ago where I just realized it doesn't affect me, and I posted some really, really like just some nasty stuff on my online. Oh yeah,
wow, man.
Completely against it. Yeah, so like super controversial, and I lost a lot of friends. No way. And no, honest to God,
dude, I've never heard this before.
Yeah, no, it's not something I talk about. I'm not proud of it.
Oh, okay.
But I post a lot of controversial things on my wall, just basically saying, like, there is a point where I disagree to, like, whenever you're like a lamp gender, or like the cat genders, like that.
Yeah.
I think that comes to a point of mental disability whenever someone says, I'm a human but I was born a cat or something.
Yeah, I think I would agree.
But at the end of the day, it doesn't affect me, so I really don't care. But I don't think it's correct. I think that there is some form of mental disability there that needs to be dealt with.
Yeah,
because it's a very serious. Like if you
to feel like you identify more with a cat than your own species. That's weird.
Or an electrical object. Or
something inanimate.
There was some people that I know that there was who was it? There was a thing I seen online. It was a 50-some-year-old man, and he identified as a 7-year-old girl, and he got adopted. He had parents who were, I'm pretty sure they were younger than him. They adopted him, and he was hanging out with this with his I think it was his sister or his like stepsister of some sort of the adopted family. Mm-hmm. And throughout this interview, he was saying, I was a 7-year-old girl. They accept me. They're happy for me and whatnot. My adopted mommy and daddy. And he had pigtails and a dress and this and that. And I think at that point you have to stay 500 feet away from every school and every park that you see, because there's something. I don't know. It's a hard climate to talk about. No, and it is absolutely.
But I mean, to me, that's weird, and I hope that's not an offensive way to put that. You know what I mean? But that's, I guess, if he's not hurting anybody, but at the same time, that does seem so dramatically just
unreal?
Confused. That leaves me kind of flabbergasted. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that.
I know that there's a lot of talk about this video about this guy, and he said, how was it he put it? There was his sister or whatever. She was 6, and she said, well, I want to be the older sister, so I'm going to be 9. And he said, well, I'll just go back to 7. So he's been 7 ever since, and this has been going on for a year or two. And it's it's so unbelievable. But
It's tough to believe.
At the end, if he truly believes it, I guess it's not affecting anybody. But I just don't understand how a grown man.
Sure, yeah, but it's I don't know. That's hard, man.
It's like a double-sided sword. It's
because I'll think of something like, oh, this is how I feel about that. In that instance, it's like, well, no, because I don't know, man.
I know.
You really just fucked my brain right
now. It is. There's a lot of talk about it, but I mean, back to what I said earlier about the whole trans thing. I have no problem with a man or a boy who if he truly believes, if he's truly a girl, and if he was born a boy but he was truly a girl, what does that doesn't hurt anybody. It doesn't affect anyone if he truly believes he's a girl. And same goes with females. If they're born a girl but they truly are supposed to be or believe that they're a boy. I don't see anything wrong with that. And for any listeners out there, for people who might have, because I know that there's a lot of people that were extremely against a lot of my beliefs. There's a lot of people that were for them back then, but for all the listeners out there who may have been a part of this controversial topic, because it was a very, very dramatic time. I want to apologize, because I'm embarrassed when I think of it now, because it's.
Well, you know what? That's good. That shows growth. At least you have the wherewithal to feel shame.
Well, absolutely. And when I first, and it was almost like a light that clicked whenever I realized, what does it fucking matter? It makes no difference. You know what I mean? They're not affecting me.
I'll tell you. Morally, I have no issue. Do whatever you want, just don't hurt anyone.
Yeah.
The place where it gets kind of murky for me is in areas like transgenders in sports.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still kind of hung up on that.
Are you?
I am.
Why? What's the big?
I just feel like it puts to pin whether this individual identifies as a male or female. If you pin a genetically they're a man against a genetic female, that's a huge unfair disadvantage that it's I kind of equate it to steroid use in sports. You know what I mean?
So why? Just because
it's an unfair advantage that actually it's not like steroid use, because a female athlete can't become a man. She could start pumping steroids, but
well, at the end of the day, I think that's really the only way that they can become men, is they have to take testosterone.
Sure, but I mean, their muscular makeup is never going to be that of their like naturally genetically male counterparts. They might get a little bigger, but it's